Hello, everybody. This is Robert at Prophecy Spotlight. This is going to be number 20. And our spotlight today is going to be on the kings of Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 8. Now, when we get to this type of reading, and when kings are mentioned, we should always ask ourselves, which king, which kingdom? What is the prophet telling us? Now, I have found in reading the book of Daniel that there are sometimes portions that bring us into the future, way, way, way into the future. I call these prophetic jumps. You know, like an athlete when he jumps, he makes a jump, Olympic jump. Sometimes he make a big, big jump. Well, the prophet Daniel is doing some of these Olympic jumps. They are prophetic scenes that are far off. And we should stop and ask ourselves, what is the prophet talking about? So the first prophetic jump that I want you to be aware of is in the book of Daniel, chapter 2, verse 44. In my Bible, I put two strokes before that verse, and I did the same at other places. In Daniel 8, I also put two strokes. These two strokes for me are prophetic jumps. It's a type of language that I invented, two stroke prophetic jumps. Okay, so let's go. Daniel 2, verse 44. Two strokes, remember. And in the days of these kings shall the God of the heavens set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. In the days of these kings. What is the prophet talking about? What kings is he talking about? Well, chapter 2, as you know, gives us the image that the king of Babylon saw and that Daniel was able to interpret and explain that this image represents 4 world empires. Now, I want to stress that word empires. Before, there were powerful kingdom. Egypt was a powerful kingdom. Assyria was a very powerful kingdom, but they are never in scripture called empires. World empires. There are only 4 world empires. Babylon was one. Persia was the other one. Greece was the other one. And finally Rome, the Latin one. These are the 4 world empires that scripture knows and talks about. 3 of them were destroyed, if it can use this expression. One took over the other. The 4th one, which is the Roman or the Latin Empire, it was never conquered. It just vanished, as it were. It just fell down, as it were. But scripture tells us that this 4th empire will revive. There will be a revived Roman Empire. And so in verse 44, in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. So here we have the kingdom of Christ to be established. For in so much as thou sawest that a stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, so it is Christ now coming in to establish the eternal kingdom, the kingdom of Christ. Now, when this happens, when the stone without hand comes, there will be kings there. There will be kings that are there. If you look at Daniel 2, he speaks to us about verse 40, and the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. And then he explains the fourth kingdom, which was the Roman Empire at that at future time to come. For us, it has come, but it will again come back. Revelation 17 tells us that. Now here we talk about the feet and the toes, the ten toes. Now the 10 toes, they speak to us about the 10 kings. In Daniel 7, we are again presented with this fourth beast, this fourth kingdom. But there it is, a beast extremely different from all the others. Different species of beast. There was the lion, there was the, what do you call that? The lion, one was the lion, one was the leopard, and the other one was a bear. But the fourth one was different and amazing, and that's the one Daniel wanted to find out. Now, this fourth beast, it is said that it will have 10 horns. Okay, horns in Scripture speaks about kingdom. So it's the same Daniel 2 and the fourth empire, the fourth kingdom of Daniel 2 and the fourth beast are really the same. Okay, so these toes and these 10 horns are represented here as being in the days of these kings. When these 10 horns are in place, when the Roman Empire is revived, and with the Roman Empire are 10 horns, 10 toes that it was, when this happened, then we are at the end. And the hand, the stone without hand comes in and breaks the toes, hits the toes, and everything crumbled down. The whole system of the nation, the time of the nation overpowering the Jews is now finished, and the Lord establishes his kingdoms. So here, and in the days of these kings, we're going a prophetic jump. We're way, 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 way in prophecy. We're at the entrance to establish the kingdom. When the Roman Empire is there, the fourth empire is there, revived, with its 10 kings helping her, in association with her. And they have given, according to Revelation 17, they have given the beast all their power. These 10 kings will just transfer their powers to the beast, to the Roman beast. And at that time, the Lord will shortly establish his kingdom. If we go to Daniel chapter 8, verse 23, there again, I have these two strokes, which again brings us to a future time, a prophetic jump again. There we read in chapter 8, Daniel 8, verse 23, and at the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors shall have come to the full. Which kingdom is Daniel talking about? He's talking about the latter time of their kingdom. Which kingdom could these be? Well, if you look at the context of chapter 8, it is now Greece that is predominant. You can distinguish that Alexander the Great came in and he was that big horn, he conquered. When Alexander died, very young, at 32 years old, 4 of his generals took over and they split the kingdom in 4. And there were these 4 kingdoms. Okay. Now scripture says, at the latter day of their kingdom, this is the kingdom that originated from the four generals of Alexander the Great. Now, two of these generals became very important. One became what we call the king of the north, and the other one, the king of the south, which is Egypt, and the other one is Syria. And they would always fight together to control who would be in control, and they always ended up fighting at Jerusalem. And so the Jews were just backlash all the time. All the time they were backlashed. Now, scripture here brings us to a time, a prophetic time. It is not so much here the 10 horns as we saw in Daniel 2, the toes, the 10 toes. It is these two kings, the king of the north and the king of the south. When they come in, we read in chapter 11, verse, I think it's verse 40, Daniel 11. Yeah. And at the time of the end, that's another prophetic jump. At the time of the end, shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him. Now, him, push at him, come against him, that's the king of verse 36, Daniel 11, verse 36, which is the self-willed king, which is the Antichrist in Jerusalem. So, this prophetic jumps brings us when the king of the south and the king of the north will attack Jerusalem, will attack the king that is there, the Antichrist. And of course, we know from the rest of the verse that the king of the north finds its end in the mountain of beauty. He dies there. So the Lord takes care of him. So just to sum up now, Daniel 2 speaks about kings. In the context, it is the last part of the image, the 10 toes. During the period of these 10 toes, these 10 horns, these 10 kings, which will be associated with the beast, the Roman Empire, at that time, the stone without hands just comes in and everything crumbles. Whereas in Daniel 8, he's speaking about other kings. He's speaking about the king of the north and the king of the south. And when they come in against Jerusalem, against the Antichrist that is there, they also find their end in the mountain of beauty. So it's important to distinguish these kings. Daniel 2, 10 toes, 10 horns, the 10 kings. And just at that moment, the Lord introduces his kingdom. The other one in Daniel 8 are the kings either south or north of Jerusalem, which is Egypt, and again, which is Syria or Turkey. There will be a leader there. There will be a leader. The king of the north is the most important one. From this region, we don't know who. I don't want to speculate who, but there is a coming king from the north of Jerusalem. The Eastern Horn he is called. The Northeastern Horn. He will be the desolator. He will be the one that will crush the Jews and will hate the Jews and will bring the Jews to the position they will turn towards the Messiah. So it's good to acknowledge that there are different kings. It is better if we can come to understanding who these kings are. And this will help us in prophecy, to understand prophecy. So this has been the presentation number 20, Prophetic Spotlight. The spotlight has been on the kings, the future kings, the latter end kings, the kings at the end, the prophetic jump that Daniel brings us to. God reveals to us everything, dear friends. We just had to open the Bible, and there we find prophecy at its best. Explained by God, given by God, and restored, if it was in our understanding, by the Spirit of God. So may the Lord help you. May the Lord keep you. Have a blessed day. Goodbye.